Welcome everyone to the Fantasy Phoenix podcast, here to give you tips for NBL SuperCoach. Round 10 was a monumental one for the NBL in a good way, and for many of us SuperCoaches in some not so good ways. I can't remember another week in any of the NBL fantasy formats where the competition lost not one, not two, but three highly owned players in late fashion DNPs. I was fortunate to only have one of them in my team, so I scraped to 473 points, which gave me a green arrow up a couple of hundred spots to 1305 overall. I went with the 1 week play of Cooks and slapped the C on him for a bit of a pod move. After game one, I thought it was going to be a great call, but a couple of other guys from the team outshone him significantly. We had PJC with a very good 86, including a mammoth 61 against the Wildcats, and of course, the man of the hour, Bryce Cotton, hitting the ton thanks to his record-breaking afternoon on Sunday. The bench was pretty serviceable for points and cash gen, but the aforementioned late DMP of Pinder as our starting C was the real letdown. I feel for coaches that had two, or let alone three of those guys in their squads. Speaking of the three, so it was Lopez who missed the first game of the Breakers doubleheader due to load management after that long flight coming back from international duties, but he was all good for game two. Pinder missed game two of the Wildcats double with illness, and Tyrell Harrison missed the Brisbane game also due to illness. Hopefully they will both be back fit and firing for round 11. Because there's some big injury news heading into this round. Chris Goulding is going to miss the next 2 weeks with a calf issue. He is expected to be back in round 13. That is after United's back-to-back doubles. Another one of the league's best scorers, DJ Vasiljevic, will also be missing multiple games with a hamstring injury that he suffered in that Sixers loss to Tasmania over the weekend. They are going to be very much down troops in the first game of this doubleheader. Could present some good opportunity for some youngsters though. Round 11 is a big one. We've got 6 teams on the double. Perth and New Zealand from last week are joined by Cairns, Adelaide, Melbourne and Brisbane. And half of them have at least back-to-back doubles, with Melbourne having 2 in a row, New Zealand have still got 3 and 7 of their next 8, and Brisbane have got a whopping 8 doubles in a row. With all that in mind, let's take a look to potentially trade in or out in our buy, sell, keep and avoid segment. Buy are players that I think are good options to trade in if you don't own them already. Sell are players that I think are good options to trade out if you do own them. Keep are players that are being traded out by others, but I think you should consider keeping. And avoid are players being traded in by others, but I think you should consider avoiding. Our buy, Jack White. I usually try to not use the most traded in or out guys for this, but this one is just too obvious to ignore this week. Most teams should have someone in their front court that can be moved on for the United star, and with back-to-back doubles, now is the perfect time. He's a double-double machine that always puts in major effort. His offensive game is continuing to evolve, and without CG for the next couple of rounds, he should have even more responsibility, hopefully equating to even more SuperCoach points. The sell, Elijah Pepper. The Wildcats' fantastic run is about to come to an end, so we need to start moving them on. And the man still sitting in almost 20% of teams, Pepper, is a great place to start. He has had some decent performances, but the consistency is just not there yet. He's starting to drop in price, so you want to be jumping off before he undoes all the good cash gen that he's created for you. Keep, Ben Henschel. This was the hardest one for me this week. I can justify everyone on the most traded out list, but I'm going to go with the young fella. Unless he's going to a PJC or a Cook, or he helps facilitate a big upgrade elsewhere, I think coaches can still hold the young gun for at least another week. His break even is achievable, and unlike Pepper, he has been quite consistent with his output. He faces the Hawks, who have guarded Bryce Cotton fairly well in their last few matchups, so he should have some extra opportunity to rack up a good score for us in that one. I'll be looking to hold on to Benny Henney for at least one more. Avoid, Rocco Zakarsky. Now, I can see why coaches are looking to target the young giant, but personally, I've never really been big on Rocco's SuperCoach prospects. But he is on the rise. Up until his round 9 clash with the Wildcats, he'd never gone over 20 SuperCoach points in his entire career. And he's only managed to do it twice, and that's in the last 2 games with Tyrell either in foul trouble or missing entirely. Brisbane do have that incredible run, but unless you're parking him on the bench and probably pairing him with Tyrell in case of injury, I think there's better guys to be bringing in. With being back to 6 teams on the double, we've got plenty of captaincy options, including some big scorers from last week. Here's the top few guys that I'd be looking at for captaincy. There's nowhere else to start other than the record breaker, Bryce Cotton. Even if we ignore his special performance on Sunday, Cotton is still one of the best SuperCoach scorers out there. There's definitely that flag coming up that I mentioned a little bit earlier playing against the Hawks, who have been really restrictive of Cotton in the last few meetings. But the man will be high on confidence and should be a pretty safe floor scoring captain with a new and improved ceiling to boot. Next, we've got Parker Jackson Cartwright. He may have been overshadowed in Sunday's match against Perth, but this guy is an absolute stud. He's got an incredible floor, scoring 25 points twice and everything else being mid-30s and up. He does have two of the better wing defences in the league this week, but New Zealand are down troops and they need their superstar to stand up this week, as will many of us super coaches. Jack White. I've backed in White every week he's been on the double and I'm not stopping now. Just a lazy double-double after coming back from that calf complaint and didn't miss a beat. United are rolling on top of the ladder, and this round they face New Zealand, who have all kinds of issues in the big man department, along with Brisbane, and who knows who they'll have fit to play. This should be a really big week for Jack White incoming. A smoky option if you have him or are bringing him in is Isaac Humphries. Had his first double-double and best game of the year last round, no surprise with Trez missing, and he's got this week's double to cash in and build on that performance. His matchups this week, Brisbane and Perth, are two of his favourite teams to go up against. So if you're going to bring in the big fella or for some reason you've already got him and you want to go against the grain, he's definitely an option. Looking at my team, last week I ended up keeping Malik Lewis and instead moving on Lopez and Josh Bannon, which allowed me to bring in Cooks and Cotton. Bannon's injury and not wanting to lose cash on Lopez made the move a lot easier. I definitely got lucky with him missing that first game, but happy with the moves. This week it looks like it's time to finally move on Malik Lewis, and depending on the news, either Xavier Cooks or Keanu Pinder will most likely join him. There's the option that I trade the two ladder and hold Lewis, or even use my third boost of the year to get all of them out. At this stage, I'm likely looking at Jack White and Tyrell Harrison coming in, but availabilities might dictate the trades a little bit more for him. What are the moves you're looking at this week? Let me know down below. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in. Hopefully this has helped you moving into round 11. If it has, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel if you aren't already. We're getting ever so close to that 100 mark, so it would be awesome if we can get there soon. And a big thanks to everyone that has already subscribed to the channel. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below, or you can find me on X or Twitter at @FantasyPhoenix_. The most important thing to remember is we're only halfway through the season. We're 10 rounds down, we got 10 to go. So there's plenty of time left to come to right any wrongs or build on some positive performances that you've had so far. Good luck for round 11, trust your gut, and we'll see you in the next one.